Hello, families and teachers. My name is Susan Wild, and I am the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services for the Redondo Beach Unified School District. I would like to teach you about how to read your child's or your student's measures of academic progress, or what we're calling MAP growth scores. The purpose of this video message is to give you a better understanding of normed benchmarking test scores, and hopefully you'll be able to apply it to any normed assessment tools you may encounter in the future. So first, we want to spend some time about what the bell curve is, which will help us understand your child's percentile rank that will be coming home on their family report. Next, we're going to talk about MAP percentile ranks and RIT scores. Finally, I'll explain Lexile and Quantile scores and where you can go to find more information to support your child. So let's get started. On the left is our bell curve, obviously shaped like a bell. To better understand your child's data, meaning their percentile rank that will come home on their family report, we're going to utilize an analogy to something most of us are familiar with: basketball players in the United States. Imagine everyone on this day who plays basketball is going to fit into this bell curve on the right around the United States. I'm going to emphasize on this day, as this is an important piece of information when we explain normative scores. On the right side of the bell curve, we can section off a part of the bell curve in blue. Inside the section are people who play basketball at the highest skill level, like the US Olympic team. These are athletes who have played basketball all their life, practice on a daily basis, have extensive knowledge of the game, are at a caliber that the rest of the basketball population have just not achieved. We would say these athletes are advanced with their skills and knowledge of basketball playing. So on this day, we're going to classify these 2.1% of our players as with superior basketball skills. The next section of the bell curve are basketball athletes who play in professional leagues. These athletes are skilled, practice every day, get paid to play basketball. Their skill level is higher than most people who play. On this day, we would classify these athletes as superior with their basketball skills. The next section, 34% on the bell curve, you're going to find basketball players who play in Division I, Division II, Division III college level. They have a very high skill level. Now, I want you to note that right now, this area is representing a very large percentage of all of our basketball players. This makes sense if you think about how many Division I colleges and universities we have and the number of students who are playing in them. These are typically players who are on scholarships for their high level. They practice every day. This section of the bell curve would be considered high average skill level. The next section, 34% again in yellow area, plus the previous section, is the biggest section in that this is where most of our basketball players in the United States are going to fall. This is where we would find high school basketball athletes, adult intramural players. Combining the previous 34%, this is where most of our players lie and is considered average skill level. If you think about how many high schools there are in the United States that have basketball teams and then the amount of players that they are, this makes more sense too. These athletes have a longer season, practice often, might even practice in the off season, and start having a better understanding of strategies. This section is in the middle, and there's a range of low to high, and it's considered also in the average skill level. So the 68% for both yellow sections would represent low average, average, and high average. Continuing down the bell curve to the next section, for basketball players playing at this level would be, you can think of it like maybe middle school players. These athletes are just learning how to apply the skills, they're learning the game, they're learning how to strategize. These players do practice, but maybe their season and exposure is shorter than what would be happening with your average athletes. These athletes will be classified as the borderline basketball skill level. And finally, moving down the bell curve, our red represents 2.1%, but our basketball players that need the most support. These would include those who have never played, or practiced, or even learned. These athletes are maybe interested in the sport, but have not been exposed to the sport long enough to understand how the game is played, maybe haven't been on a team, they may not have access to equipment or facilities. These athletes are learning the foundations of basketball. They're having fun, and they're learning how to work as a team. Notice how there are fewer athletes in this section. These students would be classified as extremely low. Now let's stop and go back to this concept of on this day. If we took all of the basketball players within the bell curve and reassessed them 5 years from now. The players in the Olympics would most likely have changed because it's difficult to keep up this caliber every day for years. They may have also received an injury, moved to a different sport, or had been sick the day of the assessment. Elementary players in the red section maybe have had now 5 years to practice, to learn, to apply their skills, and they will have moved up on the bell curve. There are many, many factors that play into assessments and student scores, and these factors all need to be taken into consideration when determining how a student is academically progressing. Hence, test scores do not tell the whole picture of a student's progress. So now it's important to understand the difference between percentile rank and percentage. If your child was taking a spelling test with 10 words they had to spell, they will receive a grade with a percentage. Percentile ranks are very different. A percentile rank shows a student's rank relative to a large sample of students within the same grade or age. The percentile rank means you are comparing your student with other same age, same grade students across the nation. The rankings are going to range from a low of 1 to a high of 99. The number is the percent of students in the standardized sample that earned lower scores on a test. So we're looking at the bell curve on the right, dividing it in half. That is the 50th percentile. 50 is average. Moving to the left, percentiles get lower. Moving to the right, they get higher. Let's look at two concrete examples on the right-hand side. So for example, your child receives a percentile rank of 35. It means that they performed higher or better than 35% of the students in their grade level. Another example is if your child was at the 84, percentile rank was 84. Then you would have performed higher than 84% of the students within this grade level. The key about understanding percentile rank is that you are comparing one student rank against a national normed score on the bell curve. So think, where is my child lying on the bell curve compared to other students? Are they above or are they below that average 50? MAP scores are going to give us a wide range of data. We can look at a student's MAP growth assessment for measures of academic progress. This spring, we assess students in grades K through 11. The scores are going to be used to help teachers in lesson planning, goal setting, showing overall growth in a student's academic life, and to give teachers insight as whether a student is struggling in a certain area, needs more help, more advancement. MAP uses two different scores, the percentile ranking that I spoke to earlier, and a RIT score. Let's take a look at this student, Wayne Lopez. You can see RIT scores in 4 tested areas at the top. Let's take a look at his reading. Wayne's overall RIT reading score was a 174. If you look just below that, you'll see comparisons on the left-hand side. His score of 174 means that he is achieving in the 3rd norm percentile. He is achieving in reading greater than 3% of the US population. However, Wayne has taken this assessment 7 times. He is also receiving a growth percentile, meaning he is growing at a rate higher than 43% of the US population or who took this standardized test. If we take a look at the bottom of this profile, it also shows Wayne's growth over time. And his continued growth in his RIT numbers show the type of growth that his parents and teachers will want to see. Please note though, however, there are 2 instances when Wayne declines in his growth. Both of those areas have occurred during the summer. That's why it's so important for our students to continue reading and working on their math skills this summer, and we highly encourage our students in grades 3 through 8 to utilize Map Accelerator. The RIT score also provides for teachers a representing where the student is ready to learn, not just the number, but those numbers are then correlated to actual learning statements that are aligned to the Common Core standards. So for example, this student received her overall math RIT score was broken down into 4 different math categories. Taking a look at geometry and her RIT score of 230 then translates into a series of standards or topics that she can then use, the teacher can then use to design and plan instruction. Two other pieces of data that is going to be reported to your child are your child's Lexile and your Quantile levels. Your student's Lexile reading level is a measure that ranges from 0L to 2000. There are also scores that can score below. Students who are learning to get ready to read might have a BR, a beginning reader level, and will be working their way up to a 0 Lexile. A 1300 Lexile indicates that the student should be able to tackle the reading that's needed in college and many careers. Teachers can use Lexile levels in order to match books to their readers. We highly encourage parents, however, to really use Lexiles as a way to measure their child's growth over time. Students should not be matched with books solely based on their Lexile level. Quantile is a framework for understanding your child's math achievement. Quantile measures range from 0 to 1400, and they span from kindergarten to high school. A quantile level of 1330 indicates that a student should be able to handle math that is needed for college and in most careers. It also helps identify math concepts that your student knows and helps identify concepts that they are ready to learn. Next, we want to take a preview into the website we have listed on the bottom that we highly encourage our families to visit, and that's hub.lexile.com. This website is the holy grail of resources for not only educators, for parents, and for families, and for administrators, and everything about Lexile and Quantile. Wanted to show two of our favorites. On the left-hand side is our career match, so students can investigate careers that they might be interested in and learn not only what Lexile range would be required to be successful in that career, but also quantiles. On the right-hand side is a Quantile Summer Math Challenge that gives parents a wide variety of resources and activities that they can do with their child over the summer. So families, please be on the lookout in the next few weeks for your child's MAP growth results that will be mailed home. And please contact your child's school office if you have any questions. Thanks so much and have a great day.